Hello, everyone. Moose is here with me today. Say hi. Tough crowd. Okay, so in today's demo, we're not doing like a full length tutorial like I've done in the past. I'm just going to show you a bit about glazing, which for me is my favorite technique that I use in every single one of my paintings. I almost said in every single one of my YouTube tutorials. No, I glaze in every single one of my paintings. Glazing can add so much depth to your piece. It can add a layer of luminosity. It can even alter your base color if you're feeling like, for example, it's leaning a little too blue, but you wanted it to be green. You add a glaze of yellow, bing, bang, boom, you're there, baby. It's the best. Honestly, I'm so excited for you to try this if you haven't yet. Think of glazing like your living room curtains. They're not like blackout curtains where you can't see what's going on outside. They're your sheer curtains. Ooh, they're so nice. They still let in what's going on outside, but a layer of privacy. It's a film that changes what's going on underneath, but you can still see it poking through. The one thing to remember when you're glazing is you want your base layers to be dry. If they're not dry, you're not glazing. It'll just mix all together and then you're missing the point. It's very easy once you get the hang of it. It's almost like nothing. There's times that in this entire experience that I'm painting of the figs, I was sitting there and realizing, oh my gosh, I'm glazing again. Again. It's so second nature at this point that it is how I paint. I base layer, I glaze, I detail, I glaze, I detail some more, I might glaze again, and then I detail to finish off. It's just how it goes, and it really can make your pieces so vibrant and so full of life. So let's not even chat more about this. Let's just get right into the video. This is Remy, by the way, if you haven't met Remy. Hi, say hi. Say hi. So to glaze a painting with watercolor, basically you want to make sure your initial layer that you're going to be working on is completely dry. So we're almost there. I'm using the side of my hand. That's the way I like to do it. I'm working on a little, what are they called? A punnet of figs. So don't mind this trash of a stage right now. It'll come together. So to do my initial layer, I was using this silver sable brush here at number 4, and it holds a lot of water and a lot of paint, so it allows me to make like cover a lot of space pretty easily. But I think I'm gonna switch back over to my Da Vinci Colineo for the glazing process. I'm still going in with a number 4, so the largest size that I own. And basically what a glaze is just a wash of color to make your bottom layer a bit more cohesive. So it blends everything together with like a commonality, like a common color. So you can see that this is just really choppy. I'm focusing on this fig right here, and I'm going to use my more green mixture, my really like lime green mixture, because in my reference photo, it's just a lot more vibrant green, and I feel like I lost that. So I'm going to wash off my brush, make sure we don't have a crazy amount of color of anything else on there. Okay, I zoomed you out a little bit so you can see. So to do your wash or your glaze of color, you're going to completely saturate your brush with water, pop it into your mixture, and then I'm just going to make sure it's pretty watered down, and I'm just going to completely cover my area with this brush, with what's on this brush. So I'll start close to my other fig, and I'm just going to glaze over. So you see I already picked up more in there because I can feel that there's not a lot of paint and water in here. That's just the nature of these brushes. I like that they don't hold a lot of water, but that means I'm having to do a little bit more back and forth. So I'm just sweeping this color, and you can see that the glaze is just covering my bottom layer and making everything cohesive. This isn't my final layer, so there'll still be a lot more work to be done to get it up to the higher details that I want it to. But you can see that just brought everything a little bit more uniform. Perfect. And now what I can do is, because I want this side of the fig to be a little lighter since it's still wet, I'm just going to pick it up with my brush And you know what? Let's rip a little paper towel off. I'm going to pick it up. I'm just disrupting that glaze I just placed down, and I'm going to tap it out to make sure I have that highlight there. And there we go. And I can see that I want this little area to be a little lighter as well. It's still damp. We'll just tap it away. Tap it away. So I'm just pretty much moving around that glaze. Looks like there's a pretty substantial highlight right there. And right there. I just want to make sure we're happy with this layer. Okay. And that's a glaze. So I'm going to do the same thing over here because obviously this lost a lot of color as it dried. So I'm going to do the exact same thing with this, with my light green color. So into the water, mix it around, more water, and I'm going to place it down. And I'm following the roundness of the shape of the fig. Kind of cleaning up my edges. Okay. And then I'll lightly bring it over here. And that just brings it a little bit more together as a painting. It makes it look like actually like little watermelons. Next stages after I glaze will be just more details in those little things. And I might do another layer of glaze as well afterwards. And it just kind of helps bring some cohesion around. I think I've said that 5 times. So you might have asked yourself, what is the difference then between like glazing and layering? Because right now we're going to now build up to our like second layer, which is this little smaller areas that I work on. Okay, what I actually meant to say was, what is glazing versus adding detail? They're 2 very different things, but I said layering. I apologize. Glazing covers your entire surface of your object. Layers are just smaller little areas, or that's at least how I will describe them. If I'm working on like my next layer, like this one, that is more confined to the tiny spaces like that I'm working on. So for example, I'm working down here. Well, yes, this is adding darker colors and more vibrancy to this space. Maybe not even vibrancy, just darker colors and more detail and shadows and all that. It's not technically a glaze because it's only in this one little area. The glaze before was a full wash of color over the surface of this fig. So it's a super helpful technique to just cohesify, blend, to bring everything together while adding more layers on top of each other will also bring a piece more to life, but a glaze is just really nice to add after you have your initial washes down. I can also do glazes whenever, really. So although I did it just before, I might even do it if I'm feeling like after I add more of my layers on top where I'm building up the different areas of dimension and depth and keeping my highlights as is. If I'm feeling like this is still feeling really choppy and really separated, the glaze will combine it all to feel like one object. Like even here on these little highlighted areas, I'm looking at my reference and they're a lot more like aqua. So I probably will do a slight glaze here, a slight wash of color. So let's actually show what that's going to look like. So you can't see it's off camera, but remember I'm picking up my big brush in water and grabbing my more minty shade, which has some phthalo green in there. Phthalo is a great color for this. And then I'm just taking a little bit of my May green. And let's make sure that we like that color. That to me looks fake. Just it's such a fake color. So I'll just probably bring in some olive green. Let's try it again. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. This just has like a little bit more like body to it. So for that area, I'm going to really keep this really light because I don't want to disrupt underneath. So I'm using my wet brush and I'm just going to focus my glaze on this area. So it's going to combine this shadow and this highlight to be one solid color. So I'll just place that down. And I want to kind of punch up that color a little bit more. So again, have your wet brush, and we're going to cover our two areas as one continuous color. And that even could go a little bit more like blue. I'm taking some mountain blue and I'm just kind of doing a slight wash and leaving that texture going down. So I'm kind of dry brushing it to the edge. Okay, there as well. And that will just bring those highlights that we're leaning a little bit more green. We're bringing them a little bit bluer as per the reference. So I just did another glaze on top, and you don't want to do too many glazes because it could start getting kind of muddy. So you want to be pretty deliberate with when you choose to add that much water and that much paint to your paper. So after this one, I want to really feel like I'm happy with the overall tonage and everything on this painting. And then I can go in and add some more details and really bring it to life. But I don't want to make like this paper too wet with too many glazes because it's basically doing like, it's just making the whole area completely wet again, which is not my favorite state of my paper. And then from here on out, I'm just going to make sure that my next layers are just a little bit more deliberate and they're just going to be very fine details and a lot less water. And we can see for this one, I'll probably add another wash of color that's a little bit more limey, like a little bit more tennis ball green. No, is that a tennis ball color? I don't play tennis, but like limey green, I'll do a wash of that. and potentially over here as well. But we'll just keep building up our painting, and that's that. Okay, so I'm just taking very small amounts now. So I'm going to be doing 2 glazes that are going to come together. So we have this yellow mixture and this more blue over here, or teal, aqua, if you must, that I'm going to place down. So this first glaze, and well, first, let me not get ahead of myself. This glaze I'm going to focus on is going to live in this little segment. And I'm not going to make it as wet and watery as the first one. So we're going to go in and I'm going to lay my little wash of color right there because I want it to be a little bit more limey green. Then take the blue aqua and place it on the other side and brush it down. And you can take the middle shade up at the top. I want the darker color to come live in there as well. So we just made a little mix of glaze right there. Dang, I was really in the zone with this one. This is a very condensed area of glaze that we'd be doing to build up some of the darker shadow areas of this fig. So I just placed my darkest color and I'm just lightly buffing it down with a little bit of water in this glaze compared to the first ones I was showing you, which was a bigger wash over the area. This is just really confined to more deliberate areas. So you can use them on bigger surfaces. You can use glazes on smaller little areas. It just depends on what you're needing at that moment. I'll do a little wash of the yellow down here on top of the aqua. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. I want that shadow darker. Not darker. I lied, just thicker. As I was saying before, you don't want to do a ton of large washes of color using a lot of like the water and watered down mixture. So with here, while I am doing a glaze, you can tell that there's not a lot of water, so it's not adding too much moisture to this paper. It's just movable and good because it's pretty damp on dry, not necessarily the full wet on dry experience that we were doing earlier. I need a little bit more like aqua-y of a green, and then I'm going to tone it down with a little olive green and some sepia brown, potentially burnt umber. Nope, that was so much. Okay. Bring that back out. Yeah. So just place down some color. I'm just blurring it out with a very dry brush. So I don't risk moving anything that I just worked on. So what I'm learning that I'm really enjoying, I'm loving the textures of fruit. That I'm having a lot of fun with. But I'm liking that I can build up so many ugly little textures. By ugly, I mean so cute and perfect. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you are going to be able to take some of these notes and these tips with glazing and bring it into your painting practice. And please let me know if you have any questions or if I didn't explain something well. I'm happy to chat in the comments. Thank you all for being here, and I'm going to just leave you now with me glazing this fig yet again. Bye!